For a hero collector game such as DC Dark Legion, especially to other ones that we have compared within the genre, this one here has a very simplistic gear system. As you know, we can craft based on the alloys that we're able to get into our account. Of course, we can go into the anti-crime network and come in and farm our alloy, and when we get these alloy pieces, then we'll have enough to then do some crafting to then get some of this gear that, yes, it gives a stat boost to your hero, but really at the beginning, especially with the uncommon, the rare, the epic, the legendary, and the mythic, everything is pretty straightforward. You just equip it in your hero, you're gaining the extra stats, and really at the beginning, it's all about you putting a composition together that has a little bit of synergy, and at the same time, you're just countering how many stars the other team has as well. But eventually down the line, when you get to your level 35 armory, you're going to start being able to get Mythic Plus pieces into your account. And why is this integral? Because now with this Mythic Plus pieces, you are going to get faction exclusive pieces added to your account. Now, why is it so integral for you to try to match as many of these pieces as you can to try to then place them on your hero? One of the things that I was really surprised by some of my league members is that some of them really did not craft as much gear after they reached level 35, and they had pretty much gear for all their heroes. So some of the heroes that I saw don't have as many faction exclusives right into their builds. So for example here, let me see if I can find one. So here, for example, Black Adam, really I only have 2 pieces on him right now that have that faction exclusive tag. The other 3, they're just normal mythic pieces, right? Well, this one here is an unmatched one, but the point stands is that once they saw that they had pretty much filled the slot on the hero, they didn't feel the need that they needed to push this further, especially into getting the alloy to then craft, because they thought, hey, my heroes are gear. All I need to worry about then is AC/DC shards or adding more stars to them. But the matter of fact is that you do want to pursue to try to complete the set and try to get as many of these equipped on your hero, because each one of these pieces will give you a 20% bonus on that stat of those particular pieces. So you gain more HP, more defense, more resistance, more attack, more critical resistance, critical damage. Essentially any stat that is listed there, you're getting a 20% boost with these stat, and that is why you want to try to push these as much as you can in terms of making sure that down the line you eventually, especially the heroes that you use a lot, that you're trying to add as many of these tags as possible just to get that extra stat boost. All right, now the other thing about gearing, and this is something that also some of the players do try to, you know, that struggle with in terms of what it is that we're trying to do when we're trying to improve our gear, and that is transmutations. So in addition, once you are able to get these type of gear, you're going to be able to transmutate it. The transmutations require mirror cells. Now for some, the resource is going to be very scarce, so you really want to be selective as to what pieces you are going to want to invest your mirror cells in. So if you have a hero that is highly evolved, for example, such as somebody here, let's say Nightwing, and you do have most of the pieces here with the faction exclusivity, you do want to try to push and see if you can get a very good stat to show up, and then you know, use it because you want something like attack on a hero like this, right? And critical damage if that is something that you're looking for, as an example. But the key here is that you do want to make sure that you use those mirror cells as efficient as you can on pieces where you know you're going to be using the hero a lot, and preferably is a piece where you have had this faction exclusivity already added to it. Now, In my example, though, there were some situations where I decided to jump the gun a little bit. And as you can see here for Crypto, I did transmutate his pieces because I wanted to get him a little bit of extra stat, given that this is a hero that I do use a lot. But is then there a way for me to save this piece? Because I already invested mirror cells on it, right? And if, for example, I were to get a boot that has the Superman faction exclusive logo on it, I do want to use it on Crypto, but will it then have to give up this piece that I already invested mirror cells on? And the answer to that question is no. So here is the other tidbit when it comes to gearing in DC Dark Legion. Here is a piece that I've been saving for this example. So I already transmutated this piece. I do want to keep it, but right now Two-Face has it, right? And as you can see here, there's a little green tag here that is giving me a warning saying, hey, you can engrave this if you want to. Well, what is the engraving process? So here, let me show you. At the same time, there is this green arrow. The green arrow essentially is what it's saying is that there is a better piece there for you that you can equip on the hero to give him more power, okay? And if I click on that piece, and I click on replace, you can see that one of the differences here is that I have an Arkham labeled piece here that I can add to him. And these two add power to him. They add stats to him, is essentially what it's telling me. Now, let's say for this example that I did not have this boot here. Let's say I did not have this boot, but I did have this blank one here. Right? I haven't transmutated it, it's not touched, it's level 500. Well, if I wanted to, I could easily add that tag to it. So the way that you do this is you come to Transmutate, and then as you can see here, now I have a little red icon that is warning me, that is saying to me, hey, you can engrave this piece. So then I can select it, and now for 300 gems, I could easily say, okay, click and add the tag to it. So that's exactly what would happen if I were to do that. Okay, I would then add the tag, and it would come in and be an Arkham piece. And essentially, after you do that process, what it's going to end up looking like is going to be something like that. All right, so that is engraving. And that is a way for you to save any piece that you may have transmutated because you wanted to add a particular stat to the hero. Make him a little bit stronger while you wait for those pieces to maybe possibly drop into your account. However, some people will tell you that they prefer to wait. Okay, they'll prefer to wait to get that faction exclusive piece before they even transmutate it. There are some scenarios though that you just can't wait. You have to go. Also, part of the reason that I transmutated a lot of these pieces before I got a faction exclusive is because a while ago, so I think the update rolled out 6 weeks ago, 6 to 8 weeks ago, where, well, at least in this piece, as you can see, I rolled a gold, a legendary roll. Well, they changed that, okay? So now at level 1, you're only going to be able to roll common, uncommon, and rare stats, okay? You do really have to then advance to level 2 to then see epic, and then level 3, transmutation level 3, to see legendary, and 4 on mythic. And that's exactly what then will pop up here, right? You start getting those stats. So before that update, the only way that I was ever going to see legendary is to bring it all the way to 4. And that requires a lot of investment when it comes to mirror cells. And that's essentially what you're going to be looking at nowadays, as the time that this video is being recorded, is that at the initial now, you're just going to see the uncommon, uncommon, and rare. So that is why you see me having been transmutated some of these pieces, because I wanted to make sure that I could take advantage of it before the update rolled out. But now our situation is that if we do transmutate any pieces, we have to start low on the scale, and we're just going to be able to get the stats. Now, one of the reasons that I do believe that the developers decided that they were going to make this shift is because they noticed that not many people were pushing to level 5. They were stuck at 1 or at 2. They weren't going all the way down to level 5 to get all the stats unlocked. Now, the game though does give you a benefit if you do decide to bring a couple of pieces all the way to transmutation level 5 and then complete it. Because if you do that, you are going to be able to unlock an effect on that particular set. All right, so if you have 2 pieces, for example, here, you're gonna get unyielding wheel on something like a defender or a warrior, where if your HP drops below a certain percent, you're gonna gain damage immunity and then you're gonna restore energy. However, if you are able to then complete all 5 pieces, now you get a little bit more in terms of damage reduction and also energy. It just increases, it boosts those even further. So at least in my league, I haven't seen anyone yet with level 5 gear, regardless of their spending habits, right? Because some of them have decided not to push that much mirror cells into a particular set. But if you are able to push beyond that, that is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to unlock particular sets and you're going to get some stat bonuses that your healer, your assassin, your warrior is going to be, your intimidator is going to be able to get into their gear, right? It just makes them a little bit better. But there's a lot of work, there's a lot of resources that you have to invest on these pieces to get those particular effects. And then the final thing when it comes to transmutating, and another resource that the game gives you in order for you to evolve your gear, is the Inertron. All right, so these pieces in particular are going to allow you to save a particular substat that you have rolled into your piece. So if I were to wanted to continue rolling this piece, transmutating it, and keep adding experience to it, but I want to keep the substat, you have to lock it. And then as you can see, it gives me the option here. If you want to transmutate, you then use a mirror cell and you use 1 Inertron. It will continue to add experience and at the same time save your substat. As you level it as well, you can do that with the other levels. You can lock up number 2, number 3, and then continue on number 4. But the downside is that each one of those locks will take an Inertron. These are resources that very seldom comes into your account. So if you really wanted to progress your gear and save the subsets, the best way to acquire them right now, unfortunately, is the shop. But that's exactly how Inertrons work. So that's essentially how the process in terms of gearing works in DC Dark Legion. It's very simple at the beginning because it's just plug and play. But then at the end, yes, you get to the end game. Now you can start working with trying to develop those sets. And then you have to make the decisions as to which one of these you're going to transmutate. You're going to invest your mirror cells. And if you did, jump ahead and decided to invest on a piece, for example, that you already had on a hero and you decided to throw some mirror cells on it to just at least open up a stat, there is a process where you're going to be allowed to transfer the tag from a newly crafted piece into one that you already have. And then within that, if all the transmutation levels are pushed to 5, you then unlock gear set bonuses, effects in a sense. And that is how that gearing system works. So I hope that kind of clears things up if you are a player that are approaching the end game and how you should definitely approach gear. But the major thing here, besides from transmutations and then being able to engrave faction tags into the gear, the big thing here, at least from what I learned from interacting with other players, is that you really do want to try to keep crafting gear and add it to your account to try to make sure that you get these faction exclusive tags into your character's gear, because they do give you a big boost in stats. All right, and it'll just make your hero a little bit stronger, which is what you want, especially when we have events like the Guardian Challenge, Gotham, Ultimate Gotham, and if you really like Meta Brawl, that's definitely going to come into play. Thank you all very much for tuning in and watching. I will see you all in the next video.